The snow swallowed the sound of his boots as he ran, lungs burning, heart pounding. The world narrowed to a wrecked police car, bleeding smoke and fire beneath a concrete bridge. The man had already lost so much that winter, but nothing prepared him for the sight of a wounded female cop slumped in the snow, blood streaking her temple, eyes fluttering between life and darkness. In that frozen moment, fate reached out with both hands, and the truth waiting on the other side would change everything he believed about loss, justice, and what it meant to keep going when life kept taking. Before the story pulls you deeper, take a second to pause with me. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of helping someone when it costs you everything, please like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel, GrandmaDiery. Your support keeps stories like this alive. He was a struggling single dad named Ethan, a man whose life had been stripped down to survival. Since his wife's sudden death 2 years earlier, the days had blurred into a relentless cycle of factory shifts, frozen dinners, and quiet nights where his young son slept curled around a worn-out stuffed dog. Money was always short, time was always thinner, and guilt sat heavy in his chest because he never felt like he was enough. That night, he had been driving home from a late shift when his old truck skidded on black ice and stalled near the bridge. He was already cursing his luck when he saw the wreckage ahead, the twisted patrol car half crushed against a concrete pillar, flames licking weakly at the hood, snow falling as if the world itself were trying to bury what had happened. Ethan didn't think. He moved because something inside him refused to let another person be left alone in the cold. The German Shepherd that rode everywhere with him, a retired K9 he'd adopted after the department auctioned off equipment to cover debts, leapt from the truck and bounded ahead, barking sharply. The officer lay in the snow, her uniform darkened with blood, one hand limp, the other clutching at nothing. The night felt unreal, like a scene from a movie he'd never chosen to watch, but the weight of her body as he knelt beside her was devastatingly real. He wrapped his coat around her, pressed shaking fingers to her neck, and felt a faint pulse that made him gasp with relief. Help felt impossibly far away. Cell service flickered, the cold gnawed at his hands, and fear crept in, whispering that this was too much for a man already barely holding himself together. As he waited for sirens, memories he tried to bury clawed their way back. 2 years earlier, a different police car had come to his door, lights painting his living room red and blue, an officer delivering the news that his wife had been killed by a hit-and-run driver who was never caught. That night had split his life in two, and ever since, the sight of a uniform made his chest tighten with grief and anger he didn't know how to place. When the ambulance finally arrived and took the officer away, Ethan stood shaking in the snow, watching taillights disappear. He didn't expect anything to come of it. He didn't save people for recognition. He did it because he couldn't walk away. Days passed, then weeks, and life dragged him back into its familiar grind. Then a letter arrived, thick and official, bearing the seal of the police department. His hands trembled as he opened it, expecting nothing but maybe a thank you he didn't feel he deserved. What he found instead cracked open a truth he never saw coming. The officer he'd saved, a woman named Claire, had been the lead investigator on his wife's case. The crash under the bridge hadn't been an accident, it was caused by a suspect fleeing after new evidence surfaced. Claire had been close to exposing the man responsible for the hit-and-run that shattered Ethan's family. Saving her life didn't just keep a stranger alive, it preserved the one thread that could finally lead to justice. The news hit Ethan like a wave. Grief, hope, anger, and disbelief tangled together until he couldn't breathe. For the first time in years, something shifted inside him. The world hadn't just taken from him, somehow, against all odds, it had given him a chance to see the truth uncovered. As Claire recovered, the case reopened with renewed urgency. Ethan was called in, not as a suspect or a bystander, but as someone whose courage had kept the investigation alive. He sat through long meetings, revisited memories he'd tried to forget, and endured nights where sleep refused to come, but he did it with a quiet determination he didn't know he still had. Months later, when the suspect was finally arrested, Ethan stood outside the courthouse in the cold spring air, tears streaming freely for the first time since his wife's funeral. Justice didn't erase the pain or bring her back, but it lifted a weight he'd carried alone for far too long. His son noticed the change first, the way his father smiled more, the way the house felt warmer even when the nights were cold. Healing didn't come all at once, it came in small, steady steps, in morning breakfasts, in laughter returning to rooms that had been silent. Claire visited once, walking carefully but smiling, her gratitude quiet and genuine. There were no grand speeches, no dramatic reunions, just two people connected by a night of snow and fire, by loss and survival. Ethan realized then that kindness had a ripple effect he'd never fully understood. One choice, one moment of running towards someone instead of away, had altered the course of multiple lives. If this story has started to stir something in you, if it reminds you that even in the coldest moments there can be unexpected light, stay with it until the end. Ethan never became rich or famous. He remained a single dad doing his best, still tired, still imperfect, but no longer broken in the same way. He taught his son that doing the right thing doesn't always feel heroic in the moment, that sometimes it just feels necessary. And every winter, when snow fell heavy and silent, he remembered the night that changed everything, not with fear, but with a quiet sense of purpose. Before this story ends, I want to ask you something from the heart. Please comment below and tell us what this story made you feel, or share a moment when kindness changed your life. Your words matter more than you know. And if this story touched your heart even a little, please like, share, and subscribe to GrandmaDiery. Your engagement helps keep these stories alive, spreading hope to people who might need it most, and reminding us all that sometimes, saving one life can change everything.